Hello, we are charting the higher octave with Portland-based collective vocalist and bassist Collin Hegna and the band FEDERALE. How are you? Thanks, Colin.
Great. How are you?
Thank you for joining me, and it's a pleasure to have you in the show.
Yeah, good to be here.
Um, I know you have a new album that's going to be coming out. It's kind of to me is it has all the scorpionic dark waters that on the music, right? It's dark. You know, they even have a song Dark Waters on there, which is I
That's
think I'm
it.
thinking
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
theme of Scorpio, because Scorpio is the seductress. But,
Yes.
yeah.
It's
And,
Reverb Seduction is the name of it. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's a great title. And the album is come be out in July 12, which is a couple of weeks away now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know you've been and you're also touring, which is great. So I'm looking at the dates to see if I could catch it. But yeah, so thank you for joining me. And this is great because I feel this album is dark. I mean, obviously, do you think it's darker than the other ones? I know you've done many songs and tracks that are also in that kind of dark.
Yeah. Well, I feel it because we had a single that was called Blood Moon
I love that. I love that
about
song.
like a year or two ago. And that was kind of like when I started leaning into more of like the dark, like sort of goth angles a bit more, you know?
Hmm.
And so I just sort of kept going with that direction a little bit for this record. So it's definitely heading in that direction quite a bit. That Dark Water song that you're talking about in particular is very sort of gothy.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were saying that you started leaning towards the dark side, was there something? I mean, what was it? Do you think that you started? What was there something that's significant that kind of led you to the more the um darker trail? I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, like a lot of my songs are sort of inspired by like films and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, or sometimes they're like real films. That's my cat. My cat's just yelling away in the background.
Oh, I love cats. The cat can be walking in the screen, and that's fine too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in particular, there's that song Dark Waters actually. There's a film called Dark Waters, which is like early 90s Russian horror film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really interesting, bizarre movie. I got this anthology of films. It's all about like folk horror stuff.
Yeah.
It's all the haunts be ours. It's really great. And there's all these films from all different eras and all different places in the world. And I was just watching like all of those movies, and I really got into the feel of like the folk horror. And
Yeah.
so a lot of these songs I wrote sort of inspired by those movies and that sort of just that mood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that was kind of like what was pushing me along with that.
Oh,
Just trying to
yeah.
capture as much of that folk horror darkness as possible with the music.
And I know you're also inspired by the Italian spaghetti Western theme,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I mean to me, I mean I love that theme. I love the Western times, you know, when I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of
yeah,
cowboy movies, you know,
yeah,
and I always was whenever I went traveling to the US, I would always try to find those old ghost towns, you know. There's not that many around anymore, and unfortunately. It's really sad. I've
yeah,
always liked those. I would go to the store and buy like a holster and a gun and a badge, and I'll pretend I'm the sheriff, and I would just be like, you know, it was
yeah,
such a great time, you know. Even though I know it was probably hard to live during those days, but
yeah, yeah.
I always consider it like a really dark time. So
Yeah,
it
there's like a
kind of
darkly romantic thing to, those times and like and those spaces too, like those ghost towns, they're very, very evocative of like, stories and like what went on in these places, I'm sure all sorts of like
yeah.
really intense stuff happened.
Yeah, it's also really ghostly too, because you see all
Totally.
these, like ghost towns, right? You kind of oh, there was a memory here. There was some kind of energy that was here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
was that something that you've always liked? That's why you were inspired to create.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I live in Oregon and you don't have to drive very far to get out into the country. And if you get over on the other side of the mountains here, it's very deserty. And so I
Hmm.
was always drawn to that sort of stuff. And then the thing about the Italian Westerns that I love is they are really dark. Like American Westerns are kind of, they're just kind of hokey if you ask me.
Yeah.
So I've never really been into those, but the thing I love about the Italian Westerns is they're just really messed up and they have really complex characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, like the title, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like none of the people in that movie are either good or bad or ugly. They're all just a bit of all of those things, and
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
a bit more like real life. And so um I that's why I love those Italian Westerns so much, is because they are really dark and they are sort of reflective of the darker side of humanity.
Yeah, and I always love the work of Morricone, just like, Clint
Fantastic.
Eastwood was always one of my favorites, even the Western, even there was one that what's the name of that? Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. I love that
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It had that church setting,
Yeah.
somebody walks in the church and you're ready to shoot the person out. It's just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like the Morricone music in those films is absolutely amazing. It's some of the best music ever been made.
I know, yeah. I mean, I have to agree. Yes. That's why, your whole music, especially this album, it's called Reverb Seduction. It's great. It's a great title. How did you come up with the name?
Yeah. Well, like sometimes sometimes things just come to you when you're inspired or whatever, and then sometimes you have to like work for them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that particular title was an example of me forcing myself to be creative because I didn't have a really good idea, but I knew I needed a title. And so I sat down with a pad of paper and a pen and for an hour and I wrote down ideas. And I wasn't particularly inspired, but I felt that, as I got into the process of just like seeing what would come out of this like writing session, I started having some good ideas. And the things that I was sort of inspired by, I, there's a Morricone compilation actually called Crime and Dissonance. And I always liked that title. And then I started thinking about there's a Brian Jonestown Massacre album called Bravery, Repetition, and Noise.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of like having one or sorry, two or three words that were sort of unrelated, but when you stick them together, it kind of creates its own meaning. And I really like that about Bravery, Repetition, and Noise and Crime and Dissonance. And so I started kind of coming up with I was just thinking of words that I thought were evocative of the moods that were in the record. So, I know there's a lot of reverb on the album, and I don't know, there's something dark and resonant about the concept of reverb. And so I like that one. I think it just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
having more
seduction.
and seduction, yeah. And then those words just kind of fit together. So, that was just kind of out of my brainstorm, session. It took me like 45 minutes to come up with it.
No, it's great. I mean, do you find I mean, how do you find inspiration? Like, do you find that some of the best times where you could be inspired to write something is it happen at night or more like when you wake up or?
Oh, it can happen at all times. I mean, yeah, I definitely have a lot of ideas at night, and I have a lot of ideas like first thing in the morning too, before people start, you know, bugging me on email or whatever, like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
when it's just like your own time, you know what I mean? That same thing with night when people stop calling you or texting you or bugging you. It's like you're finally free to like let your mind wander. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I actually like early in the morning and late at night is probably when I get the most ideas.
You know what they say? They say when you first wake up, you're just out of that alpha state, and
Mm,
you're in that alpha state, and you're kind of like you're still inspired. You can
yeah,
wake up, and
yeah,
actually that's why I asked you, how does it come out? Because it's amazing, these songs. I love them. I love the other albums too, and some of the more darker ones, and
yeah.
this album particularly. I love Advice from a Stranger. I think it's a great song. And even
Thank you
the
very much.
instrumental, the Revolver.
Yeah,
It's great. It's a great, just the whole thing is just great.
thank you very much. Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
sorry.
and I know there's 10 songs, and this is
Mhm.
actually your sixth studio album,
Yeah,
and is also the 20th anniversary. You
yeah,
you guys been doing this since 2004, right?
yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, I am a record producer, so I work on a lot of records for other folks as well. So you know, I've made a lot of records in that time outside of just the ones that I make with Federale. So, you know, I feel like I probably could have squeezed out a few more Federale albums in there, but I think
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's been really pretty good stuff, and I spent a lot of time on it. So, you know, it's like it's there's a lot of craft that goes into it, and a lot of the arrangements are pretty, you know, well thought out, and
Yeah, they really do. Yeah. I mean, the first
goes
song
for
is
like a cinematic feel, so it's
yeah.
like a punk band. You know, although I do like that aesthetic as well, it's just a different approach, you know. It's like I try to really make it like as effective as it could be, you know, and that takes some time.
And that particular song, No Stranger, pays homage to the late Lee Hazlewood, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Is that
love
the
Lee.
song? Yeah, I think that's the song, right?
Yeah, No Strangers. Yeah, I love Lee Hazlewood. He's one of my favorites. You know, his
Definitely.
his songwriting and just his vocal style is just truly amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
and I well, when the first time I heard that song, Some Velvet Morning,
that's an amazing
yeah,
song.
yeah, he did that really well with Nancy Sinatra. It was just so beautiful, you know.
Yeah, there's no other song like that. That one is just like in a world of its own.
Yeah, for
It's one of
sure.
those magical songs. It's like, where did this come from? You know, like it's a fantastic piece of art.
So how do you see like the musical landscape of the music industry, especially with this particular, you know, spaghetti western genre?
Mm.
Because you know, I mean, not a lot of now there's not a lot of artists that does this. I mean, there are, but I would say you guys are like up there in the in that.
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, you know, the first two records of ours are pretty heavily influenced by this spaghetti western thing, and as I've been going along, I've been adding more and more influences because, you know, it's not like that's all that I listen to or that's all that I'm interested in. Um, I listen to a lot of different stuff, and you know, including a lot of, you know, like post-punk stuff and goth music and stuff. And
Yeah.
for a while there, I was like, I felt weird about bringing in other things because I sort of established the style of the band, you know. And
Hmm.
then I was like, well, you know, who's going to get mad at me, you know, like who's going to tell me not to do it, to bring in other influences. And you know, Anton from Brian Jonestown, he's a really great example of someone who like has no qualms of like bringing things in from any number of genres within a single song. And he's always, you know, saying like, you know, why would you only use a few of the crayons in the crayon box? You know, and I really take that to heart. So I've been trying to expand the palette as much as
Hmm.
possible without, you know, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like I keep aspects of things that I think are working. So there's definitely still a lot of spaghetti western influences in there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
but
I hope you continue to do it like that because I like it.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's just some, and your voice is so, you know, it has that deep, you know, that deep tone that needs to be there for something like this, you know, this kind of genre, I think.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I did, you know, our first two records are like almost entirely instrumental. There's no
Yeah,
singing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why
Um,
I like the lyrics and the vocals. I think it's great. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's another thing I've been bringing in. It's kind of weird to think of like a band where you're bringing in like normal singing, like lyrics and stuff, but like that was the thing that I had to bring in. It didn't exist. You know, we were primarily instrumental when we first started. So, but you know, like I think that's a great thing about having gone through the process of like being an instrumental band is like you have to make songs interesting without lyrics, without singing, you
Yeah,
know.
and you did a great job. I mean, the Revolver, it sounds great, you know.
Thank
It's
you. Yeah.
instrumental, and that's great too. And it's the last song, which is good too. I mean, I like it.
Yeah,
Um,
cool. I felt it was like an interesting way to close it out, you know, to like bring it back to like what kind of like what
yeah, I
we do a
figured that
little
was what you were
bit.
doing. Yeah.
And but I, you know, like so I feel like having learned how to utilize the instrumental sections of songs, like our instrumental sections of our songs that have singing, I feel are really effective
Hmm.
as a result of
Yeah.
having been an instrumental band.
Hmm. So,
And yeah, I'm not really concerned with like what's going on in the music industry in general. Like it doesn't really affect me. Like, you know, like I people are going to do what they're going to do, and it doesn't. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, what I find interesting, you know.
Yeah,
It's
that's the way.
always been my thing, so you know,
Yeah,
hopefully
and you have
else
been.
people
Yeah,
like
you
it.
for sure. Yeah. So I know this is a collective. So who are the players in this particular album?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a lineup switch up halfway through this record. So like the second half of the record is that was like done during like the COVID lockdown times and stuff. So I you know, some of those folks are people who I'd worked with previously, and some
Hmm.
are folks that I had worked with remotely just because, you know, the nature of how the world was. But then the first half of the record, that's all the folks that I've been playing with live lately. And so, you know, our drummer Pat Spurgeon, he's
Uh-huh.
been a long time in a band called Rogue Wave, and he also plays drums in Dandy Warhols sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those guys are
And
great too.
yeah.
Peace International Airport. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I did an
yeah.
interview with him just very recently. Yeah, they're great. You guys are just Portland
Pete's a
bands
great
are
guy.
great.
I used to play in Pete International Airport
I
actually.
know. Yeah, I think we might have mentioned you a little bit. And I
Oh,
did.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love Pete. And then on guitar, one of the guitar players that I've been working with a lot is named Jared, and he plays his band is called the Shivas, and
Mm.
they're a really great band. I recorded their record too, actually. So you know, and I work with a dude named Victor Franco. He plays in a band called Roselit Bone. That's a really great band as well. So just a lot of folks that are very very talented. You know. Um,
Yeah. You guys have a good lineup actually.
thank you. Yeah.
So I know you play bass
Yeah.
and and you sing and you're a songwriter as well.
Yeah.
And also there's another string instrument, violin,
I don't play. I have played violin, but no, I do play guitar a lot.
guitar. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I wouldn't
guitar.
say I'm a violin player. But I can play pretty much anything except for horn instruments. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not particularly good at playing drums, but I can play drums. But yeah, I'm mostly a bass player and a guitar player.
And I love the cover, of course.
Oh, thank you.
I let love in. I love that.
Yeah, nice.
You know, I'm big. I love Nick Cave
Yeah,
um and that's really good. I mean, you did that really great. I mean, you know, he's amazing and you covered it pretty good.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a little intimidating to cover one of his songs, you know, because
I know, but that's
he's
why I
so
was
good.
saying that you did it great. I'm a Nick Cave fan, so I'm totally like
Yeah.
covering Nick Cave, you know, and it has to
Yeah.
be good, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you say that since you are such, you know, you would know if it was not good. So, but we rehearsed it for quite a while and I felt pretty confident about it. And I feel good about that version of it. We
Yeah,
play that song live in almost all of our shows.
I
Um,
know. I would love to hear you guys. I want to come out in sometime. I don't know. It's too bad I live out in Hawaii.
hey, you know, maybe I need to come to Hawaii. I think that's the solution here. I
I know.
want
I
to
wish
play in
they.
Hawaii.
You know, honestly, I wish Hawaii was part of the United. I mean, it is part, but I wish it was like directly connected to
Yeah,
California, where everybody can just drive down here. You know.
right. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, maybe I should try to figure that out because I would love to play Hawaii. I've never played in Hawaii actually. I played a lot of places in the world, never played in Hawaii.
And have you been to Hawaii?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, a
Oh yeah, yeah.
couple times. Yeah,
And Honolulu?
I've been to Honolulu, yeah, and I've been Maui.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you know
Yeah,
these
yeah,
places then.
yeah. I've been to Kauai when I was a kid. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, it's been a while, but I would really love to come and play a show. That'd be amazing.
so you know, I would love to have you here. Yeah, definitely. I mean, your music is so reminds me so much of all the artists that I love. You know, I love Scott Walker. I love
Yeah, me too.
um um what's the name? Leonard Cohen. You know, all those. It's kind of
Oh
reminds
yeah,
me of that. You know that genre. You know, the dark and
yeah.
Western kind of.
These are all people that I love, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
These are my top
Um,
fans.
I see you're gonna be touring pretty soon
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
release date, right? This date is gonna be released on July 12th,
July
and you're gonna
12th.
be starting
Yeah.
your tour in Portland.
Yeah, and then we're doing like sort of like a loop or, you know, going up to Seattle and Boise and Salt Lake and Vegas and then a few shows in California as well. So yeah, we're doing a loop there, and then we're going to Europe in early November, actually,
Yeah,
for
and this album is going to be released on Jealous Butcher Records.
yeah, yeah. That's a label out of Portland, and they just do really great stuff. And it's just it's nice to have a label that's in the same town, so I can like go and meet up and like talk to them face to face, you know. It's very nice to be able to do that. I think, you know, like, because you know, distribution these days is like, if you get it on all the streaming services, then you're everywhere, you know. So I feel like being able to have a personal connection with your record label is a really great thing. And so I'm really
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
happy to
And
be
I
doing
and I know you've been in other bands, and you, of course, the Brian Jonestown Massacre. You're
yeah,
still doing that, and you're bass player, right?
yeah,
And um and uh and I know you I think you have you done any films? I know you've done it because I know you love films, and you're is it
yeah,
yeah, you have
yeah.
any upcoming stuff going on with that?
Yeah, yeah. I do a lot of like songs for films. Been trying to get more into like doing scoring. I've done a couple documentaries, scored a couple documentaries. Um, but actually my first feature film that's like a not a documentary, it's like a, you know, a fictional piece, but that's coming out this, I think, November or
Oh,
perhaps December. But it's called Filthy Animals. And that's my first score that I've done the entire thing for.
oh,
That's a dramatic
wow.
film, and it's really great. It's sort of like a horror horror film that's set during Christmas.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of genre stuff going on there. I love genre music, so yeah, I love horror films, and I love Christmas movies for that matter. So when the director asked me if I would do it, I was really excited about it, and people have been really digging it. It's done some festivals, it's won some awards and stuff at festivals, so that should be coming out hopefully November or maybe December. I don't know yet exactly.
Yeah, you know you have a like a Christmas song, right? A single that what child is that part of that?
It came from that actually, yeah, because
Okay.
I had to do a version of that song for the film. And then I liked the song so much, and I thought it was so dark that like I thought it'd be interesting to like sort of expand upon it. So I did the version for the film, which is just a very short version that's sort of like in the background. And then I just took it and I got it all orchestrated. There's like real strings and French horns and stuff. So it's very, you know, like sort of like a classic Christmas record, but like very dark, you know.
I know, yeah. Like a dark Christmas kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which I love.
I
There's
yeah, me
so
too.
much you know, like emotional stuff tied up in Christmas music, and just to like tap into that is really interesting, I think.
Yeah. And I also like your version of the Mona Lisa.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was for a movie actually. The that song I was talking about earlier, Blood Moon, I wrote that for a film called Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, which is by a director, Anna Lily Amirpour, who I worked with quite a bit. Um, and so I did a version of Mona Lisa for that film because she wanted one for the film. And the version that I released is not the one that's in the film. They actually used just like an a cappella version of me singing it. But I had already sort of made this grandiose version of it with like
Mm.
strings, sort of like a jazz orchestral arrangement. So I put it on our covers EP. So that's where that came from.
And you know the album, the cover of the Reverb Seduction, I just love how it's gold and black. I mean, what was the inspiration behind that one? It
Yeah,
looks like a face. It's like a circle and kind of Greek
yeah. It's like
mythology.
yeah, totally. It's like Medusa or like a Gorgon.
Yeah.
That again came from my interest in the folk horror genre.
Oh.
There's a book. It's actually it's a guidebook to England. It's called actually it's the Occult Guide to England.
Oh.
Um, and it's sort of like it tells you about all sorts of different you know, spaces where there's like stone circles, and
I need to get that book.
it's really really interesting. And I was going on tour in the UK at the time, so that's why I bought the book, because I've been really, really into these films. I'd seen a lot of this stuff in some of these films, the British like folk horror stuff. So I got this book, and the person I kept reading it, and I've been like, I was like, I love the art in this book. It's so cool. Like, and the design of the book was so neat. Whoever was doing the art design. So I actually think I found out who the artist was who had done the cover of the book and had done all the art design. And I contacted him because I was just so inspired by the book and it looked so cool. And so anyhow, his name is Nathaniel Hebert. And
Oh,
he's the
okay.
one who designed the record cover. I was able to convince him to do our record cover
Oh, wow.
from
That's
that book.
amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Everything's inspired, even literary. I mean, that's great.
yeah, yeah. It's a really interesting book. I recommend people checking it out. It's really cool.
Yeah,
And
the
he's a
other
great
song,
artist. He's done several record covers as well.
yeah, the other song I really like is She Headed for the Highway
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah.
from No Justice. Yeah, that's there's another dark one.
Yeah, yeah. We play that one live pretty often, and that's one of my personal favorites. I like that one's like very acoustic, and I like trying to make things seem really like heavy, but like with acoustic instruments, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've always really loved that song.
Well, it looks like I'm gonna be hearing more from I'm sure you're writing more stuff and coming up after this tour. I know the album's gonna be released, but I know you're gonna be writing more stuff coming out. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we've already recorded, I think, 4 or 5 new songs since the record, and plus I have a couple singles that I did at the same time as the Reverb Seduction album that I'll probably release maybe later this year.
Oh, like a single. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like
I've got.
like your own solo or like with the band.
Oh no, no Federale stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it just won't be attached to a record. I actually had 12 songs ready for this record, and it was too long.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
had to take a couple of them off. So those will probably come out as a single, I would say probably later this year. And then
Oh, okay. Looking
we got
forward to that.
yeah, the new record is
Is
like,
it a dark stuff? Pretty dark.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They're the 2 songs that I didn't use are actually both instrumental songs. Um,
Yeah.
and
No, I like the instrumental.
yeah, and I didn't want to load up the album with too much instrumental stuff, just because I started getting really into like the more like lyrical narrative driven songs that we were doing, like, No Justice and Advice from a Stranger, those sort of things. Heaven Forgive Me. So I saved those ones for later. So those will probably come out separately, but yeah, they're like extremely epic. Like it's like like full on epic strings and horns and orchestral stuff, but like also rock band as well. It's pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I've always loved this theme. I guess you could say the Western theme, even from the album by Susie and the Banshees. Bring me the head of the preacher man.
Yeah,
Kind of has that, that Western kind of theme, and I don't know. I've
yeah,
always liked it. And Nick Cave, has that
he uses that
going on
too.
too, and so
Yeah,
many others. So I'm so glad that we did this interview because it's something that I've always wanted to talk about.
cool,
Um,
cool. I'm glad you're into it. Appreciate that.
yeah, and good luck with your with your tour
Thank
coming
you.
up on the release date of this album,
Yeah,
Reverb and Seduction. What a great title.
thank you.
So it's coming out in vinyl, right?
Oh
Also?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be on vinyl. Yeah, we'll have them at the merch desk starting
The
on
limited
July
edition,
12th.
right? Is it a limited edition?
I think it's 500 for now.
Wow, that is limited edition.
But I think they'll probably make more later. But right now we're making ones that have like sort of like a see-through purple, or I guess you could say like burgundy vinyl, and that's
Huh.
the first 500 are all like that. So those are available for pre-order through Jealous Butcher Records. Or you can come see us play a show and we'll have them at the merch table.
Yeah, and this marks the 20th year anniversary.
Yeah,
Band Federale, uh,
yeah,
Reverb and Seduction,
yeah,
out July 12th on Jealous Butcher Records, and of course their website. If people want to check it out, is federalepdx.com,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there's everything in there. If people want to see your tour and they want to see some videos
yeah, the
and
video
the
too.
Cave cover and
Yeah,
all that other stuff, which is great. So yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
check it out. There's some good stuff in there.
yeah, yeah. I look forward to your next music, your next record, and
Thank
good
you.
luck in this tour. And hope to have you back again. And big
All
shout
right,
out to
sounds great.
Shameless Promotion PR.
Yeah,
Always amazing.
yeah, it's the best. It's awesome.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, thank you very much, Colin.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
very
joining.
much.
Okay.